Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop today. The empire of dirt ever expands. Larger and larger bites until false bravado is not sauce enough to lubricate, and I choke on my own chicken wing. That is to say, nothing to see here. Quit asking so many darn questions. As you can see, I'm upgrading the electrics. But what I really wanted to chat with you about were these Greenlee knockouts. These are an interesting tool, and they're essentially a die punch press, a hydraulic press, in the palm of your grubby dick beater. I like talking about oddball tools. The thing is, they're not oddball tools if you're in the electrical trades. However, if you're not, maybe you're a welder, they are an oddball tool, and they might come in handy. There's a lot of overlap there, and learning stuff about how other people work really helps you in the long run, because you can sort of think outside the box. Speaking to outside the box, just a forlorn cry from the wilderness against the nanny state safetyism, what is creeping into everyday life, wherein nothing is dangerous, everything is perfectly safe, and you get into that mindset that someone else is going to protect you, and you get into trouble. Case in point, I was on a site, and foreman told a young apprentice to go ahead and throw his lock on some piece of equipment. Well, luckily, the apprentice in question had the foreskin to go ahead and check with his own meter before, even after he had done his lockout and tagout, filled out the job safety analysis and all that, and the foreman had told him where to put his locks. And there's a whole raft of locks because a bunch of guys working on it. This apprentice probably saved some lives, because he actually went and checked. It turns out the locks were on the wrong disconnects. So never ever take for granted you put a lock on something. It doesn't mean it is de-energized. It means there's a fucking lock on it. It could still be energized because the foreman put the lock initially on the wrong disconnect. So be aware of that. Don't just blindly go into panels or mechanical equipment, pneumatic equipment, hydraulic equipment. You always have to test the device to see if it works. Don't just throw a lock on it, because that'll get you killed. So what we are doing here is we're upgrading a breaker so that, we'll just cut that. We're upgrading a breaker so that we can put in a new piece of big old gear. Ah, you fucker. You think I'd be used to struggling with horsecock? I had a back injury a while ago. I had to get a helper to come to the bathroom. The doctor told me I couldn't lift anything heavy. Click. Oh, not to worry, kind folks. I am working under Duclaw's ticket. He's a little stormy at me for some reason, and I think it's because I'm an asshole. It just take him a couple of years. He comes around every decade or so. Guys are wondering where he's at. Well, he's in a hell of his own devising, aren't we all? Where the knockout comes in, what we have here is a temporary solution as opposed to a temporary permanent solution. The strain relief for the tech cable wouldn't fit through the factory hole. So because there's already a big factory hole there, you make a hell of a mess hole sawing it to embiggen the hole. And also we have a whole cabinet full of sensitive electronics. We don't want metal chips getting in there. So what we can do is we use our punch press, which is, they call it a knockout, in order to embiggen that hole without getting a whole bunch of chips everywhere and without the thing walking all over the place. So these come in handy for other things too. If you're into sheet metal or anything kind of below, say, a 1/4 inch on aluminum, probably below a 1/16 or maybe even an 1/8 on steel, these are going to save your hide. They are pricey, You can probably get them from the usual scumbags in China for quite a bit cheaper, but these here are the Green Lee, and as you see, this size never been used. Size is too small. I need the next size up. Now I am working, as I said, under Duclaw's ticket. That mightn't be why he's a little bit standoffish with me, but the good thing about old buddies is, you know, you never screw each other over. He'll come around. You know, I do pay him in beers occasionally. Of course, I've made myself the noble victim because this tech cable is so fucking stiff. Once you get the gland on, you can never get her off. So what I gotta do now is cut this off, and then I gotta go ahead and cut every single zap strap up the line, feed myself in, another 12 inches, and then restart at it. Now this tech cable, this is called tech cable, and it's mechanically shielded. It's a cable within a mechanical shield with a jacket around the outside, actually named after Tech Mining Company. And that's interesting segue into Anaconda Mining Company from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which of course in American you'd call Coeur d'Alene, which in French means strand of wool. Words. It's like somebody just makes these fucking things up. But guys ask all the time in the comments, why the hell in North America you guys run 120 volts and 240 volts and you don't get three-phase in your house and so forth and so forth? Because the lower the voltage, the higher the current. Anaconda Mining at the turn of the century was mining more copper than they could sell. In the bureaucracy, or rather the political sphere, they decided in their infinite wisdom to get into technical matters of standards, and they decided to standardize on 120 volts for households and 240 as well. What's that allow them to do? Allows them to sell, and allows Anaconda Mining, a huge conglomerate, to sell much more copper, ready-made market. And that is why we are stuck with the legacy of 120 volt and 240 volt, or 220 volt, so that Anaconda Mining back in the day could sell more copper. Now we've gone back to the kit and get the proper size there. Now you can see what we're gonna do is we're gonna punch a hole in here, and there won't be any little needles to get in your wife's couch. Pronounced couch or cooch? I can't remember. It just goes on like that. I like to put a little never sneeze on there. There is a bearing, mind, but you're still relying on that, looks like 7/8 National Fine thread. Quarter ass lined up on your hole, and then give her the Friday night ratchet routine. Who am I kidding? Armstrong ratchet routine. Swap over from the stranger. Anytime now. You can see it's digging in along the periphery, so it's only ever cutting. It's more shearing than punching out. And having a look at that bolt, it's actually more like 3/4, so not as much force. You can still, on that fine thread, get a hell of a lot of, and we're through there now. What it's doing now, it's just breaking the chip in half, and that's her. There you go. Once again, the power of the inclined plane. Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I'll move the world. Just get this out and show you what for and how to. I can get these tattered rags off my hands, get back to my nice clean hand job. Casting shadows all over the place. That's what's left of her. See, it cuts it in half so it doesn't get jammed in there. Good for limited access, as well as not leaving shards of metal everywhere. Thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vice.